Hello, my friends. My name is Jack Descartes, and this is Sentinel Circle. Thank you for being here today. We're going to go ahead and get right into the topic at hand. So, later on this week, specifically on Thursday when we do our lives, Sam, our friend Sam Fisher, he announced recently that he's had enough of the internet, and he's going to be shutting down his YouTube channel. He already shut down his Discord, and I offered to bring the guys on his Discord over into my Discord to just kind of, at the very least, if he wants to come back, he can join my Discord and he has a home. I spoke to him in person the other day about this, and he made some rather persuasive arguments, and I honestly, I don't blame him one bit. For some reason, the internet allows people to be themselves in a way that's very ugly. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily a good or a bad thing. I know we've all done things that we're not proud of, and the internet doesn't forget. So I understand where he's coming from. But I did offer to do a live about a topic he is passionate about. And it was not just the fact that he's passionate about it, but it's more my curiosity. And Sentinel Circle is all about providing a platform to those who would like a platform, as long as it's respectful and, they don't involve drama or problems or whatever. So we're doing kind of like a pre-video to the live to learn about it a little bit, just to kind of give us a little bit of an understanding, so that way when he presents his ideas, we can at least talk intelligently about it. So he's all about the alternative culture, alternative societies, that kind of thing. So I found this Wikipedia page, and I know the problems with Wikipedia. I get that, but it's just, kind of like an appetizer. Think of it like an appetizer. It's not meant to fill us up. It's more just to get us ready for the main course. So this page is about alternative culture. I could not find anything about alternative societies, but I would imagine that they're along the same lines. So alternative culture is a type of culture that exists outside or on the fringes of mainstream or popular culture, usually under the domain of one or more subcultures. These subcultures may have little or nothing in common besides their relative obscurity, but cultural studies use this common basis of obscurity to classify them as alternative cultures, or, taken as a whole, the alternative culture. Compare that with the more politically charged term counterculture. So basically, Wikipedia is stating that alternative culture and counterculture are not the same thing, which that's fair. Okay, I can respect that. There's a little bit of history here. It says here, alternative societies have probably always existed, but their peak was during World War II. In 1960, they experienced a boom, some of which have survived to this day. Currently, alternative societies are being created for various reasons, for example, loneliness. And that really caught me off guard when I saw that. I'm going to open up this link. Is this that's the link that I did open. Okay. Just want to verify, because I'm going to that article next. But that was an interesting aspect to this, is a lot of people are making alternative societies and alternative cultures out of loneliness. And we've established that men in general are suffering from a epidemic of loneliness. We call it the male loneliness problem, or the male loneliness epidemic. And I've always been of the opinion that men do not understand the true power that they have, because they have been beaten down over the course of their entire lives to be subservient to others be it other men, women, families, government, whatever. And I firmly believe in unleashing that power of maleness and masculinity, because unleashing that, in my view, will allow basically men to not only take back their power, but possibly, and I know this may sound a little crazy or out there, right? But I'm going to say it anyways. It could possibly open us to the potential of a golden age. You know, man has conquered the world in terms of natural order and society building and culture, whatever. You know, we've dominated in a way that has slowly been stolen from us over years. You know, I personally feel that the peak time for men was the turn of the century between the 1800s and the 1900s, you know, where men had an aura of them. You know, they had a grit, but at the same time they could just be intelligent and strong, hardworking, whatever you want to say. You know, I really do feel that men today, in a way, has been regressed. And that scares me, honestly, because society, as much as, you know, some people in our society don't want to admit, society does depend on men. And we are seeing the consequences of that. We're seeing masculine women overtake effeminate men simply because, you know, these men have not been taught how to be men. And I don't fault men for that. I really don't fault them, because it's hard to stand straight and tall when you have the weight of the world bearing down on you. It's like, I constantly compare it to Atlas. You know, his sin or his punishment is to carry the weight of the world on his shoulders for all eternity. That, to me, is what has, well, that's what's going on with men. It's been like that for years, but we've reaped the rewards of our hard work, and we're no longer doing that. You know, we're constantly told that, you know, the reward for hard work is more hard work, and that's the honest truth. So that's kind of where I do agree with Sam Fisher. And I'm going to say I don't fully agree with him. Okay. But I do agree with why he feels alternative societies are a pathway forward. So we're going to go to this next article called, it's from a website called The Conversation. It's titled How Alternative Communities Have Evolved from Pacifist Communes to Solution to the Aging Population. And I will admit, I did read this article ahead of time because it was very fascinating to me. I didn't realize how much history was here. But I don't know how I feel about this. I'm going to, you know, when I do have my talk with Sam, and I hope you do join us at the very least to listen. If not, maybe prepare some questions for Mr. Fisher and I. I would love to hear what other people's thoughts on alternative societies are. But this to me sounds like it's just a community with extra steps, if that makes sense. And, you know, for some people, they want that. Other people, they don't. I'm not here to judge. Okay. Anyways, let's just go on here. People have sought solace and strength in communal living for thousands of years. But unlike traditional villages bound by kinship or geography, intentional communities are deliberately constructed by people who choose to share not just space, but also a specific set of values, beliefs, or goals, such forging of a collective path is often a response to times of social change. Now, that to me is very interesting, because what they're saying is this is kind of a reaction to societal pressure. And I do firmly believe in the power of people. And what I mean by people is group. I don't believe that an individual has a power the way that a group of people has a power. But at the same time, I do acknowledge that a group can also have problems that an individual simply doesn't have, right? It really just, as long as you have the option out there, I think that's really the key, is the option. And the problem is a lot of options don't really exist for a lot of men. Anyways, so we're going to continue on. Here are 3 instances where people have turned to intentional communities to seek sanctuary, purpose, and alternative ways of living. And I do believe firmly that purpose out of everything is probably what's missing in today's society. And I think that, when people have purpose and they're laser focused on that purpose, they can do wondrous things. There's that story of the man from India whose his wife passed away because there was no pathway between his village and the nearest hospital. And so he spent an entire lifetime digging through a mountain to build a tunnel so that way nobody else would ever have to suffer that loss. And that's what I mean by purpose, is that man's purpose was building the tunnel so nobody else had to feel his pain. And I see it time and time again where a man who's in pain does wonders for those around him. He improves everybody else's standard of living so that way they don't have to go through what he went through. And I think that that's beautiful. That is, we should all aspire to that. Even though I know that like a lot of us don't have children, a lot of us don't want children, all that stuff, we still should do something to benefit society as a whole, even if society wants nothing to do with us. The problem is a lot of people just don't have the creativity to come up with something. We always think of like the same answers, like, start a soup kitchen or start a homeless shelter or whatever, but there's so much out there, even something as simple as painting a fence does wonders for the community. Anyways, I'm going to get off my soapbox now. So the Second World War. As the war raged across Europe, one particular group of people was looking for alternative solutions. Conscientious objectors were people who refused to fight for moral or religious reasons. And of course, that's standard anytime a war comes up. It is estimated that there were around 60,000 male conscientious objectors in Britain. Some took up non-combatant roles such as medics, but others sought out less conventional opportunities. With farming identified as an exempt occupation, some conscientious objectors joined pacifist back to the land communities. One such community was Frampton Hall Farm in Essex. It provided a safe haven for those who did not wish to fight in the war. As well as farming, the community lived, ate, and worked together. And I think that that's kind of where Sam is approaching it. I can't speak for him, but I'm trying to put myself in his position. He wants a place where men who, are in very common situations where they have nowhere to go, they're homeless, broke, whatever, they have a place where they can go and, be safe, be taken care of, that kind of stuff. And I noticed that like a lot of this usually is out of necessity, but I think he's looking for a place that people can go to, and it just exists. I've also talked about something similar to this. I got to be honest with you, this article is kind of giving me some ideas on how to approach a situation like that. Maybe we go buy a farm. I don't know. I know that Joker has kind of talked about like more of a retreat, like a 2-week retreat kind of situation where you just go camping in something, but maybe a farm's the way to go. I don't know. Anyways, We'll continue. Another such community was Callow Abbey Farm in Lincolnshire. This was a farming cooperative set up by a different set of conscientious objectors. Again, the principles of pacifism, farming, and community brought individuals and families together in time of need. Many of these communities dissipated after the world ended, having served their purpose as safe havens for pacifists. And again, that's my point, is usually once this need is done, they dissipate, they go back to their lives, whatever. But there's definitely a need for it, just a continuous need, but nobody really feels it. Anyways, let's continue on. 1960s. Still in the shadow of the Second World War, the 1960s blossomed into a more permissive era, which allowed for a freer sense of self and expression. This decade heralded a sense of social change, with movements such as civil rights and women's rights emerging. As the decade progressed, so did the different types of intentional communities. The 1960s commune movement has been described by some experts as a hotbed of free love, drug taking, and loose morals. But others argue that they embodied something much more important and were representative of social changes underway at the time. Should be one word, I think. I could be wrong on that. In an attempt to escape straight society, many young people sought out spaces that allowed them to experiment with alternative forms of living and identity. These were communities that often embraced the non-nuclear family along other counterculture ideas such as veganism and non-gendered child rearing. Okay, well, I don't fully agree with that kind of there, but the fact is they found like-minded people and they set up, a commune or whatever, and they made it work, right? That's the theory anyways. My nose is itchy, and I apologize for that. One well-documented example of this is Braziers Park in Oxfordshire. It was a community that formed in the 1950s but flourished in the 60s and 70s. Braziers was initially set up as an educational community. That's interesting. Its alternative nature attracted the likes of Rolling Stones frontman Mick Jagger and his then girlfriend, Marianne, that's what it is, Marianne Faithfull, who had lived there during her early life. She described it as otherworldly in her memoir. Braziers still exists today and now offers courses, workshops, and retreats. And that's fascinating too. You don't have to stay there. You can go try it out. Another example was Crow Hall in Norfolk, which was founded in 1965. Although they denied they were a commune, it had all the marks of being one, with elements such as a shared accommodation and collective child rearing. The community operated an open-door policy, inviting others to come find themselves. It eventually dispersed in 1997. And I think a lot of people need to be careful when it comes to alternative societies, which I'm sure that a lot of people associate alternative societies with cults. And I think that the difference between the two is you can't leave a cult, but you can leave an alternative society, right? I think that's probably the biggest difference. And I don't really hear of like these places having such a strong leadership that it's basically like an authoritarian dictatorship. I don't know. I haven't really looked too much into this. Like I said, this is kind of the appetizer to the early main course here. We're just kind of getting a baseline so that way we know how to talk to Sam when we do have our chat later on this week. Like Braziers, some communities set up during the 1960s are still in place today, such as Postslip Hall near, the British need to just make up their minds with the names. Cheltenham, there it is, Cheltenham, or the Ashram community near Sheffield. But many others ended as society moved on. Experts who have reflected on this period described it as both a time of freedom and, for others, mistakenly liberal. Today, the community scene continues to flourish, but this time under new challenges such as an aging population and climate change. Okay, so I understand we may not all agree with the climate change aspect, but let's hear them out, okay? It's difficult to estimate how many such communities exist in the UK as nobody keeps official figures. That's fair. Arguably, some of the same generation who were turning in and dropping out in the 1960s are now seeking equally alternative solutions for their old age. For some, this is to be found in the phenomenon. Oh God, hang on. Let me start again because I completely butchered that. For some, this is to be found in the phenomenon of senior co-housing. So the seniors basically are getting together and starting their own communes, which is an interesting concept. I know that there are senior centers out there that they got like maybe like the main structure where they have like a kitchen, shared living space, all that stuff, and like cheaper rooms for older people. Make it look like a hotel, but then on the property they may have like tiny homes for seniors who have a little bit more money and would rather have their own lifestyle rather than being like a traditional old folks home, which I think that that's a very unique and interesting concept. A sense of community while maintaining your independence. And then, of course, they had the whole, like, if you fall, pull the chain thing, and the nurse will come and help you up and all that stuff. So it's a very interesting idea, and I'm glad that these seniors are finding that idea to be, I had an elderly grandparent who was by herself, and that was always the biggest fear. She'd fall and hurt herself, and it'd be days before someone checked up on her. These are intentional communities run by their residents, where each household is a self-contained home alongside shared community spaces and facilities, which, there are other terms for that. Like, I had another grandparent who lived in a trailer park. It was double wide, very nice trailer, but they also had a pool, community spaces, that kind of stuff. So the concept's been around, but I guess what it boils down to is how far do you want to go to get to that point? Are you going to have like kitchens and planned meals and all that stuff? Or is it just like a little fenced in community with your friends and all that stuff? I don't know. But it's not black and white. And I came into this thinking it was black and white, and I'm learning that it's really a lot of, as we've seen in life in general, it's shades of gray. You have black over here, you got white over here, and then there's like a ton of gray. And that's really where we're at right now, is we're in the gray, which I like that. I like that a lot. Okay. One example of senior co-housing is New Ground in North London. This is a community of older women founded in 1998 who took their housing situation into their own hands. Defying some of the more traditional roles of housing for older people, such as sheltered accommodations, New Ground is an intentional community for women over 50. They live by the ethos of looking out for rather than looking after each other. That's an interesting concept too. There's this guy that I watch on YouTube. He runs the kitchen for this woman's boarding house in DC. It was very interesting. Basically, like they pay like about $1,000 to rent a place, right? The bathrooms are shared, but it's their own room and stuff, but they have all their meals taken care of and everything. They just go, and if they want to eat in the dining hall, it's free for them. It was a very fascinating video, and I just watch all the things that he makes to for these people. Like the most recent video he did was he made this spaghetti, but it was kind of like a lasagna kind of situation. So he made the spaghetti, put it in a hotel pan, right? The too wide hotel pan. And then he put Mexican mozzarella on top to kind of he said that it melts easier. So he melted the top and then cut it into like cubes, like lasagna. It was very interesting. He said it was very good. I'm actually going to try that sometime this upcoming week, and I'll report back on if that recipe is good or not. But it was fascinating to see that. Like, it looks like a normal kitchen. The house has been around since like the 1800s, and in fact, it's got like a congressional charter. So it's allowed to stay, even though like boarding houses are just no longer a thing anymore. But it looked like a normal kitchen. Yeah, they had a couple of industrial items here and there. But yeah, that's all he does is he just shows videos of him cooking. And it's really good stuff. And some of the recipes, like I said, look very divine. Anyways, for others, the solution involves joining oh, good Lord, intergenerational communities such as Old Hall in Suffolk, where octogenarians live alongside children and adults under one roof. This is a community of around 50 people who farm the land, share their meals, and manage the manor house in which they live. That's also an interesting aspect as well. As society evolves, so too do the forms of intentional communities. As society evolves, so too do the forms that intentional communities take. While the specific challenges may change, the human desire for connection and a sense of belonging remains constant. And that's really the main point here, is we're all looking for a sense of belonging, but we find different ways and means of getting to that point. Excuse me. I know, like, a lot of my community, the internet is what keeps them connected. And I know that I don't mean to bring this gentleman up. I don't want people to think that I'm picking on him or anything, but we just recently found out what happened with, I think his name is SCE. It was a very tragic story in the sense that, you know, a lot of people in our community didn't know what had happened. You know, he'd been missing for some time. I kind of figured he had passed long before other people, and we all kind of suspected it. You know, it's always the same story. A man who lives alone, he passes and doesn't get found out for quite some time. I've had another friend, his name was Eric, same situation. They didn't find him for about 4 days. The only reason why someone found him, I had moved at that point, but one of his other friends, they get together and they watch films, and it was film night when he went over and found the body. And I got to be honest with you, that's kind of one of my biggest fears, living alone, is that I won't be found for some time. And I know in Japan, everyone points to Japan as always the extreme example, but there have been instances where, you know, people are missing for years and nobody sees anything, and all the bills are auto paid, so there's no, like, you know, concern, but they go months and months and months, and then finally someone stumbles upon a decayed skeleton, you know. So I'm pointing to extreme examples here, but, you know, maybe it's one of those things where, you know, you're just tired of cooking, you know, and rather than having to cook for yourself every night and just eating the same thing over and over again, you get with a commune, and if you like their cooking, you eat it. Otherwise, you know, maybe once in a while you treat yourself. I don't know. You know, I mean, like I said, having paying $1,000 just to have one room, and yeah, it's a shared bathroom, but like you get your meals taken care of. That to me sounds like a sweet deal. You know, too bad it's women only. Otherwise, I'd probably just head there myself. Well, that, and it's DC too. I don't know if you want to live in DC, but to be able to have those options, I think, is needed in our current society. And not having that is kind of, I don't know. I don't want to say sad. It's more just like, I kind of wish more people would do it, and I kind of understand where Sam's coming from. How far are we? 30 minutes. Okay. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to cut the video here, take a break, and then we'll come back with some comments, and we'll go ahead and continue on with final thoughts. Okay. I appreciate you being here. Stay with us. Hello, my friends. Jack Descartes here once again. Thank you for watching this video. We appreciate it. I just would like to take a few moments of your time. Right now, we are currently raising money to host a website. We have Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, as well as a Patreon in case you'd like to donate once or you'd like to give a continued donation. The donation on the Patreon is only $3 a month. Cash App, Venmo, and PayPal, you can donate however much you want. There is no obligation. I will continue to try to provide as much content for free as possible. Once the website is up, we will use that as a hub for all Sentinel Circle related activities, including local meetups, as well as online meetups, online discussions, and videos. So again, if you could go and donate to either Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, or Patreon, all the links are in the description. We appreciate everything you have done for us. And if you can't donate, we still ask that you like, subscribe, and share. All these activities do help even in the most insignificant ways. If you do donate, you will be immortalized in our videos and the website. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. Now back to our scheduled program. Welcome back. Thank you for being here. So we're going to jump right into your comments. First comment is from the BP Monk, and I'm sorry for my cropping skills. Probably not the best. But he says, great video, and I love your avatar, BP Monk. I'm not sure what anime that is, but if you could let me know. I do like my anime, so I'm very interested. We're going to continue on. Minecraft Holmes 2601, probably my favorite Holmes character in the whole series. He says, take the high road, and this was under the video that I did about the Buffalo Public School District and Rich High. I've seen some updates, and the thing got a lot worse, and I wish them the best. I will continue to do everything I can to support them because I'm tired of seeing kids being attacked, and the people that are supposed to be doing something is not doing something and hiding behind lawyers because they're freaking cowards. So keep going on, Rich. We will stand behind you 100%, at least here at Sentinel Circle and hopefully everywhere else. Rusty Rivers, it's always good to see the captain. He says catching up, as he always does. Rusty, I'm going to be honest with you, my friend. I'm just very happy to have you here. Thank you so much for being a good friend here. You take as much time as you need, my friend. I will always be open for you. So thank you very much, Captain. I appreciate it. Sam Fisher, 9413, the individual whose topic we're talking about today. It says it's a slow start, but we'll get there, Jack. And then he has a little cheers emoji and his pirate flag emoji. And again, Sam, it's sad to see you go. I understand why you're doing it. I completely get it, and I'm very sympathetic to it. So I just hope that you find your happiness. Anyways, let's continue on. Troubled Mind. It says Raymond is going to review this one tomorrow. I sent it to him a few days ago. The article itself is outrageous, though. Watching your take right now. And this was... I didn't know this. I feel bad about it now that I know, but this was about the most recent dating article that I had. I can't remember what it was called, but it's got the guy with the fedora in the thumbnail. I found that independently, and then I found out that that was posted in the Discord for Raymond's Thoughts and Minds. I feel bad in a way that I did literally the exact same article that he did. But I got to be honest with you, like, it's a free country and we can do whatever he wants. And if I did an article and he did an article, like, and after me, it wouldn't bother me one bit. If he's upset with me, well, Raymond, I'm sorry. I legitimately didn't know. I found it just perusing my feeds. But hey, I watched the video because I was curious about your take, and your reactions were very entertaining as always. It looked like it really upset you bad, and honestly, the article upset me too. So, Trouble Mind, again, I feel bad about that, but I'm glad you enjoyed the video that I put out there. It's fun to watch different takes of the same subject, because I know that Raymond had some reactions that I personally did not have, because we approached it from two different angles. So it was very interesting to watch it. I feel that some of the takes he took were not 100% correct. I'm sure he felt the same way about mine, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, blah, 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 blah. So, either way, I had fun with it. I hope Raymond recovered is probably the best word, recovered from that one. Because I know that was not really a topic that he particularly enjoys covering, but he does it because, he does do things for his audience. So, Trouble Mind, again, thank you for that, for letting me know about that. And if you have articles that you want to bring to me, don't hesitate to email me. Or if you want, you can go ahead and go onto the Discord that we got set up, and you can put it on there, and I'll definitely record it for you guys, my friend. And it's always good to see you too. I'm glad that you're always here. So thank you very much, Trouble Mind. And that was the last comment. So let's go ahead and transition over to my final thoughts. Let me sit up. So I got to be honest with you. I was very, how do I want to say this? Learning about alternative societies was very interesting to me. It's more in depth than I thought. And I'm hoping that when I have my chat with Sam Fisher, hopefully we can go over this article together and discuss it, because it really, I don't want to say it awoke me. I knew what a commune was and I knew these things, but I didn't realize how much depth there was to a topic like this. And I'm more excited now about my chat with Sam than I was before recording this video. That being stated, I know that there are people who don't fully agree. I'm one of those people. I do feel that, society does have its problems. And the problem is when more people get involved in a thing, the harder it is to move that thing, simply because too many people have too many interests, But I do like certain aspects of alternative societies. I do feel that, you should be able to cook your own meal whenever you want. But at the same time, having a place where you can get together and have a good cooked meal does wonders for the mind, body, and spirit. And being around friends in a communal situation, that might have a lot of weight to remove off of your chest as well. Knowing that there are people there that care about you, all that stuff. But at the same time, I think about these things, and the alternative is all the gossip, all the problems, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, like I said, I'm very mixed on it. I'm sure Sam has some ideas, some thoughts on it. I'm very interested to hear those thoughts. And the other thing, too, is I am going to open up the floor to everybody. We're going to initially restrict everybody at the first part of it. I want Sam to be able to talk freely about this topic, just to get his message out there. And then I want to open up the floor to people's questions. Maybe they got a comment. Maybe they want to debate him. That's probably what we're going to do, is probably segment it in half, so that way people have that opportunity. I don't know yet. I got to figure out the deal. I am going to have like, a small list of questions just to kind of get the conversation going, but I don't want to take too much time because I'm sure other people have questions for him as well. And again, I just want to have that discussion. I do firmly believe that Sam is going to really enjoy what we have to offer. So, I want this to be a nice farewell parting gift because, again, I said earlier, and I'll say it again, that Sam is planning on shutting down his YouTube channel. He's kind of had enough. I get it. So I'm sad to see him go, but at the same time, I fully understand it. So on that note, I'm going to end the video here. Thank you very much for being here today. I appreciate it. Thank you to everybody who's contributed in some way. Your contributions are eternally memorialized, and I thank you for the rest of my life for those things. If you do wish to make a contribution, don't hesitate to do that. We do take donations, and there's other ways to contribute through ideas and managing things, other things. There's ideas abound. If you have a unique idea that on how to help me out, please, I'm all ears. You can reach me via email. The email is always on the channel. It's always open to whoever wishes to email me. You just don't hesitate to come on by, say hello. We will be back Thursday for the live, and we got some other videos. This video is going to be released on Monday. It's going to be the first video of this upcoming week, simply because, again, I want people to watch it, munch on it just before the discussion we're going to have on Thursday. And we're going to try to do 5 o'clock as always, but it may be pushed out to 5:30. We shall see. Okay. But either way, I'm excited for Thursday. I can't wait to see you guys there. And hopefully you guys learn something and have fun while learning. That's my goal. Anyways, I appreciate you being here. Thank you for being here. My name is Jack. This is Sentinel Circle. You have a great day.